leggings, jeans, multiple layers up top, including my ski jacket that I actually have with me in the studio this morning because it's still very cold outside. And I enjoyed myself, but there is an ounce of me that was like completely regretting my decision as I sat there for an hour on a cold, hard bench watching this softball game last night.
I admire your commitment. Now, I got to ask you this question.
Okay.
How immersed is this guy in softball? Because I've had some really, really close friends over the years that love softball more than life. You know, there are 365 and a quarter days in a year, and they would play softball 400 days a year. So is he one of those? And if he is, that's absolutely fine.
I don't know that he's one of those. I mean, he enjoys it. He played baseball growing up. He played for the intramural team or the travel team for U of H in college and baseball. And then in a couple weeks, he'll also be adding baseball to his weekly schedule in some Austin leagues. So he loves it. And he's definitely was the best one on that team. I'm not just saying that because I, like him or whatever, but he definitely made some athletic plays where there. So I told him after the game, I said, some people on your team need to step it up. Or else you're going to find me coaching the next time I'm out here because some people just don't know what's going on. But I did enjoy it. It was just bitterly cold. I thought we were over this. I thought we already had our ice and snow and that I was through the worst of it, but apparently not, Coach A.
Like I said, I admire your commitment. That is being true blue there. In some cases, you're so cold that you're true blue in the face.
Now, Dave, I see you're back with us on the live video stream. Coach A and I were talking about you while you were out the door about how you were leaving. Have you had? I guess you've had that discussion with Coach that you guys share something in common with where you're headed.
Yeah, just today when I came in, we were talking about it, and because Paul, how long were you in St. Louis, Paul?
About 7 years.
Okay, so about 1980.
In the early through the mid 80s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the TV station he was at is in the same building where I'm going to be working.
That's craziness.
Oh, it's the scene of the crime for sure.
Oh, yeah.
One Memorial Drive, the Gateway Tower, almost there, like between the legs of the Gateway Arch.
Yeah,
it's like the big croquet wicket.
The arch is 1 block, is like right in front of it. It's like 1 block away. Busch Stadium is 2 blocks the opposite way. Enterprise Center, where the Blues play, is about 2 miles down the street. So it's right in the middle of downtown.
Radio is like,
and you're 2 miles from all the Italian restaurants.
Yes,
on the hill.
On the hill.
Yeah.
My mom grew up on the hill, so I know that neighborhood very well.
Ooh, we love pasta. To me, radio is like baseball. I've gotten to realize that baseball, like anyone who went through any professional baseball or even just college, like everyone knows everyone somehow. They've all intertwined, or they know a guy who knows a guy. And radio, I feel like it's the same thing. People have worked everywhere within the same cities, within other cities. There's always some connection that you can find. It's pretty cool. But I'm enjoying my time here. So I hope you enjoy your time in St. Louis, Dave. Not super thrilled that you're leaving. That's a bummer here, but glad to have you with us this morning, Coach A, because it is a footballless weekend. It's not footballless Friday, but because it is a footballless weekend, today's poll question over on Ticket 760 and AM 13 on the Zone's Twitter pages, we're asking, what will you be watching this week? And of course, the Olympics, it is the final weekend of the Olympics, so those will be available to watch. NBA All-Star Weekend, of course, with plenty of All-Star options throughout the weekend. We will actually be giving you our All-Star Weekend picks in the 8 o'clock hour. College basketball. Locally, we've got Texas versus Texas Tech tipping off tomorrow at 11:30 a.m., another hostile environment for Coach Beard. And college baseball gets underway. Texas baseball will take on Rice, a school you're familiar with, Coach A. That series begins tonight. Are you excited?
Yeah, that Texas Rice baseball thing tends to go blue a little more than it does in football. So I'm always fired up when the Owls have a chance to play the Longhorns. And, that's one of the amazing things about the college baseball season. The College World Series not till late June and stuff like that. But you start off playing in this cold weather almost like you experienced at the softball game, and it kind of changes things. But, go Owls baseball for sure. I keep clinging to that national championship that they won What, that's almost a decade and a half ago, right?
Well, Coach A, Texas baseball, #1 in the country to start the season. So it's going to be a tall order for your Rice Owls, but should be a great series. I get so excited for college baseball. And to me, I still remember when everything kind of shut down almost 2 years ago now. And it was baseball. I felt so bad for those college baseball kids, those college softball kids, because they had just gotten underway. Things were just getting started for them, and everything was just pulled out from under them. And so many of them didn't get to come back to play their final season and continue their career. It was over for college. So I'm excited that it's back once again. I'm excited for Texas baseball being so highly ranked. They put out a promotional video with Parker McCollum just last night that is spectacular. If you haven't seen it, you need to get amped up and go watch it. But Coach A, of our options, I'm going to assume you're not going to take in much of the Olympics, but of the other three, NBA All-Star Weekend, college basketball, college baseball, what do you think you'll be clinging on to the most, as we do not have football this weekend?
I'm into the whole NBA All-Star Weekend thing. I really am. I mean, it's a celebration of what really is a joyous game. It's a free-flowing game. In many respects, it's a playground game, and that's not a knock. I mean, I absolutely love that. So I know they have all these various events. The one thing you can't do to enjoy this is care about who wins anything, but you see this wonderful, free-flowing, expressive, almost jazz music game, and it's a celebration of a lot of good things, and I plan to get into it, sure.
Well, and for baseball fans, with the way things are going with the MLB, yesterday's meeting lasted an entire 15 minutes to get absolutely nothing done. So who knows when things will pick up. Spring training clearly not going to start on time. We'll see if the season gets underway on time. We'll still have some AAA baseball, but college baseball is going to be what a lot of people are looking to for those baseball fans. We got a great show for you today. It is 6:20, so an hour from now, we will be giving away cash as well as at 8:20. This is the last week that we're doing this. So if you haven't got a chance to put $1,000 in your hand, we've got that for you. I'd love an extra $1,000 in my hand. I'm going to Vegas next week. I could use it. Because I don't know how to gamble, never done it, going to do it for a first time. Do you have any advice, Coach A? Have you ever gambled? Have you ever done the Vegas thing?
Okay, yeah, here's the thing. Pride cometh before the fall. Okay, so I had a chance to go to Las Vegas several years ago with a family, and it was over kind of the New Year's thing, so you got all the bowl games going on, and I'm going, hey, I'm a sports dude, okay? I'm not exactly experienced in sports gambling, but I am a sports dude after all. So I go into a sports book and lay it down a bunch of New Year's bowl games and just get my clock cleaned. Okay, so that kind of cured me of that. But I will promise you this. This is what's going to happen to you, Shannon, Salty, Sweetie. You're going to go out there and you're going to have this big rush, this tidal wave of beginner's luck. And you're just going to clean up. And boy, are they setting you up for the rest of your life.
And I need to know when to quit. See, and I don't really play cards, and then I understand what a slot machine is and you press buttons, so I'm not sure. I want to be fancy. I want to get the cool 007 cocktail and sit down at a game and be just feel like all eyes are on me, even though I have no idea what I'm doing, but I don't want to lose a ton of money. I feel like that's the quickest way to do it. And then I also want to do slot machines because I just like pressing buttons. So we'll see. The reason I'm going, sir, is for a Shania Twain concert. And I don't know how many Shania Twain fans we have out there, but early 2000s, the queen. There was Britney and then there was Shania. I don't know how you feel about Shania, but I'm really excited to go see her residency.
She ruled the world. Absolutely. Now, where is she playing exactly?
She is at Planet Hollywood, which is also the hotel of which we are staying at. So I'm looking forward to that. Also looking forward to not having to walk down the strip after a show, because I've done that once and I don't want to do that again. But sir, also and maybe even more so excited for this. I'm very excited for Shania, but I told my friends that I said the one thing we have to do, the one thing I am requesting of us is that we dine at a Gordon Ramsay establishment. Sir, I've been lucky to dine at Gordon Ramsay establishments around the world. I have yet to or actually I have had some food from him in Vegas, but I want a beef Wellington. I've been lucky enough to have one of his before. I need another one. They're the best thing ever. I watch all of his shows. So we have a reservation for next Friday night for me to get my Gordon Ramsay beef Wellington. I don't know how you feel about him, but to me, he is like my spirit animal, and that I wish I could have the confidence and mindset and be able to not yell at people the way he does, but to be over someone like that, to still get that respect back. Because like me, anytime I say something and then that's one of those things you think about the rest of the day. I'm like, oh, I hurt their feelings. I hope they like, and then my feelings get hurt about hurting someone else's feelings. I just wish I had the confidence of a Gordon Ramsay in my life. So to me, he's my spirit animal.
I'd be afraid that he'd take that beef Wellington and throw it at you. I'd be ready to duck all the time for sure. And I know you don't care and it's okay that you don't care because you're of a different generation and I get it. But you're talking about people doing residencies out in Vegas right now.
Yeah.
Chicago's out there right now for 2 weeks at the Venetian, and it's a heck of a show.
These residencies are becoming more and more popular, and I'm okay with it. I'm not happy about the flight I paid. I used to hear that flights were like cheap to go to Vegas, right? Because it's cheap to get there, it's cheap to stay there. They take all your money when you go gambling. But the flight wasn't as cheap for me. But I think it'll be worth it. I'm really excited. I haven't been to Vegas in a long time. The one time I've been, I was 20 years old and with my family, so it wasn't the Vegas trip that one would typically imagine. Coach A, again, we've got that poll question over on our Twitter pages, so we'll be hitting that up throughout the show. Dave, this weekend for you, I mean, I know you're moving, so are you packing or are you watching sports? And if you've got the TV on, what's on for you this weekend?
Well, mostly I'm meeting with a real estate agent this weekend because I need to get my house on the market. But so it's all fun stuff like that and packing. But sports wise, the Daytona 500 is this weekend, I believe.
Oh,
so I checked that out.
Some people are going to go left for a really long time.
Yeah, well, that's how we like to go. Just drive in a circle a bunch of times. Yeah, my weekends, my couple of next 2 weekends are going to be booked pretty tight.
Oh, well, that's what you get. That's
you're
what you
talking about
get.
Vegas.
Yeah,
and you're talking about Vegas. If you're unsure about gambling, trust me, they will teach you the games.
Will they?
All you gotta do is say, I'd like to learn this.
Okay,
they'll sit down and teach it to you.
But they'll actually teach me and not teach me how to lose. They'll teach me how to maybe sometimes win.
Oh, you'll lose. But that's part of the game.
Yeah,
that's the thing about losing. It requires no education. You're just going to lose anyway.
That quote of the day from Coach A, Paul Alexander. He sits in with us once again. He'll be with us again on Monday. I will be off on Monday, but coming back Tuesday, we'll still have some Coach A. I love it. I love when we get to have Coach A sit in when Chris is on his much-deserved vacations. We got another great show for you today. High five play of the day coming up next. We got some Olympians we're going to give a shout out to, as well as talk about some karma that's come around in the Olympics. Plenty of other things to talk about. The USFL releases their uniforms for all of their teams. We'll take a look at those and talk to you about what I think are the coolest uniforms is actually the Houston Gamblers team. They've got some great ones, as well as the Texas versus Texas Tech basketball game, what we might expect to see when the Raiders come to Club Irwin this weekend. Of course, sports history, sports birthdays, and a salty shakedown. And as I mentioned, we will get into the NBA All-Star weekend and give our picks because we don't have football to pick this weekend. We've got to pick something else. So that's just what we're going to do. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show, AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760.
I got a really big team. They need some really big rings. They need some really nice things. Better be coming with no strings.
The Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
You're up.
Coach A, I don't know if you recognize this song. It is from, I believe, the 2020 college football season hype videos that they would run on ESPN for their big-time Saturday night games. I always love the songs they pick every year. I always throw them in the mix here because they just get me so amped for the college football season. And now I'm missing it. Now I feel sad a little bit inside.
You said football. It got me all misty-eyed. Nostalgia. Take us back to the season.
Nostalgia. Now, see, you're here for Chris because Chris is on vacation because he works so hard during the basketball season. I feel like, you call a lot of high school football games. You obviously are very into both college football and the NFL. Now that everything has kind of subsided, we don't have the combine until the beginning of March. And then, of course, the NFL draft later in the spring. Do you take any time away? Do you ever step away and go on a vacation and say, I'm going to put the social media down. I'm going to put the phones down. I'm not going to watch any sports. I'm not going to think about football. I'm going to go relax.
I actually need to get better at that. And I will be the first to admit it. But I'm such a football junkie that, really anything I can get my hands on right now. So I'm listening to a lot of NFL radio, for example. And I heard some things over the last couple of days that were fascinating. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I heard an interview with a series of NFL offensive line coaches, and they had all broken down the tape from Super Bowl 56. And I know this sounds completely pathetic, like I have no life whatsoever, but I was really into that. That was great.
Awesome. Well, a lot of folks right now on our poll today saying that they're looking forward to NBA All-Star Weekend the most, as well as the start of college baseball season. Olympics right now coming in dead last. USA not performing, I think, the way that most people assume the USA typically would, right? Come in dominant. You got one of the bigger teams anyway, giving you more chances to win more medals. But right now that medal count has Team USA in third place. But speaking of the Olympics, that does bring us to today's High Five. High Five play of the day brought to you by High Five with two Austin area locations, one out Lakeway, one on Central Anderson Lane in Central Austin. TVs everywhere. So if you want to take in all the action from college baseball, college basketball, the Olympics and NBA All-Star Weekend and more, it's a great place to hang out, get a drink, have some great food, as well as, I need to get my bowling game back up. I feel like as I've gotten older, that's something that I can do. It's not too physically taxing, but I just need to work on the game itself because me and the gutter, we are the best of friends. So make sure you check out High Five, one of the two Austin area locations. Today, sir, we're going to give a high five to a pair of Olympians, one who is currently over in Beijing and another who is stateside because she is a summer Olympian, that being Simone Biles, we talked about earlier this week. She is now engaged to her Houston Texans now fiance. But Michaela Schifrin, she has quite the story. She became the it girl at the last Winter Olympics when she took home so many gold medals. Everyone fell in love with her father, who unfortunately has since passed. He was always taking photos. He was always smiling. He was her biggest supporter. There was a great feature on her at the start of her Olympics this go round, discussing her father and their relationship and how they're carrying on his memory. And how she took time away from the sport after his death to grieve and didn't know if she would get back in it when her brother and her family were like, this is what dad would want you to do. And so far, this Olympics has not fared as well as her previous run. She's still a huge name. Obviously, she was on all the magazines. She's in all the commercials. And she still is very much the face of Team USA in these winter events. But she's taken a lot of crashes. Her first run specifically, I think it took 11 seconds for her to miss a turn and crash. She missed a gate 5 seconds into another run. So it just hasn't been the Olympics that she hoped it would be. And because of that, she's gotten a lot of heat. She's taken a lot of heat, sir. Something that Simone Biles, after last Olympics got a lot of too, right? She came in already a champion. She came in already a gold medal winner, and people just expected her to go out there and repeat. And when she got the twisties, people just could not get that out of their head. How dare you not get more medals for Team USA? How dare you? This is now somehow I'm relating it to me personally, something that I personally did not understand of how people were doing that. But Michaela Schifrin yesterday, after her latest, what people are calling collapse, but fall during a run, said, well, kids, feed them what you want to feed them. Self-pity, sadness, let the turkeys get you down. There will always be turkeys, or get up again. Get up because you can, because you like what you do. When it's not infested with people who have so much apparent hate for you, just get up. It's not always easy, but it's also not the end of the world to fail. Fail twice, fail 5 times at the Olympics. Enter me. Why do I keep coming back? Gosh knows it hurts more than it feels good lately. I come back because those first 9 turns today were spectacular. Really heaven. That's where I'm meant to be. And I'm stubborn as blank. So let's go for some team event training tomorrow. And then the final Alpine race of the Olympics on Saturday. So she's still got a race left. But after this quote from her, she posted some of the quotes that she's been receiving on her social media from so-called fans, calling her a choker, can't handle the pressure, loseritis, can't perform as soon as she has competition, should have left the slope immediately after crashing. To get out of the way and out of the spotlight, your time is over, retire. Arrogant, narcissist, fake nice, got what you deserved, dumb blonde, 0-5, gone off the deep end, finally got what you deserved, dumb blank, can't even do the thing she is supposed to do right, didn't get all the medals and now she's going insane, can't wait for you to be done so we don't have to see your failure loser face anymore, and finally a disgrace and unacceptable. She posted this to her Instagram yesterday, and Simone Biles, we love when athletes support other athletes. We love when women support other women, because so often they are brought up in a light that they're supposed to clash against each other somehow. And Simone Biles, after all she went through last Olympics, said, people suck. I know this all too well. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So, Coach A, a high five to both of these women for being the face of Team USA in their respective Olympics, and dealing with all of this and something that none of us would ever could imagine to have to deal with, but to do it at this spotlight, at this stage, and to take all the criticism and still have these outlooks and still be able to support one another and each other. I love it. Your thoughts on the Michaela Schifrin's Olympic run this year, and the reaction that she's receiving during this time?
Doesn't just make me sad, makes me angry. And I was angry when Simone Biles took all of that flack. I thought that was completely unnecessary. And it's really a reflection of ignorance of people who are saying that. And I remember that when she had to withdraw from some events, she was accused of not being patriotic, of letting her country down, of letting her team down. Do you have any idea how difficult that is? And particularly with these two sports, I mean, you're risking severe bodily harm. And I'll just throw this out there. Have you ever gotten a case of the athletic yips at all?
Shh, you don't say the Y word, Coach A.
Yeah. Okay. True confession time. True confession time. I did. I dropped a ball one time. It's hard to believe because the earth almost fell off its axis when I dropped a ball. But I dropped a ball. And it got inside my head, man. And I had to fight my way through that. And I'll tell you this straight up. I had some hypnotherapy to get me out of it. If you do something at a high level, and particularly if you are a perfectionist, you are prone to things like that. And it tends to become self-perpetuating. And I feel very badly for Michaela Schifrin. And keep in mind, my wife and I were talking about this last night. I mean, they're skiing on artificial snow. The equipment is not matched there. So I know everybody else is too. So I'm not using that as an excuse. But do you think she doesn't care? You think she's not trying? I just don't understand that at all. And by the way, we do have some operator error here with my audio, so I apologize for that.
We'll get it fixed. To me, much like with the Simone Biles thing, they don't owe you anything. Them going to the Olympics does not somehow secure them a medal because they have USA across their chest. Them going to the Olympics and being on all the commercials does not mean that they are given to. Shaun White was at his 5th Olympics this year, and he's announced his retirement. You know how many medals he's had in his career? 3. But when he didn't medal this year, did we say anything? Did we do anything? Did we come after him in the way that people have come after Michaela Schifrin?
No, and there are a variety of different reasons for that. I'm sure we could speculate as to what that is, but I just don't have a lot of patience for armchair experts, and we're all sitting there and we got our chips and we got our cold drink and we're being hypercritical of people who are risking really everything. And I want to thank Dave for coming in here and saving me from myself. It's operator error here, which probably doesn't surprise anybody, especially my wife, but we'll get that straight. It's bad enough to have to hear me once, let alone twice, but we'll get it taken care of.
Coach A, I want to get into some other Olympic news because we've been talking about it a lot this week. The Russian figure skater Kamila, who was the 15-year-old who was found to have a banned substance in her system when they were tested, and there's been this whole controversy of should she compete? Well, according to the IOC, yes, she should be able to compete, but if she medals, then we're going to have to consider some things. Well, the women's program finished up yesterday, and I don't know if it's karma. I don't know if it's the Olympic gods just coming down upon us, but she took a couple tumbles during her routine and ended up placing 4th in the event. Someone were really calling it a fall from grace because she was leading the event at the time and was by far and away the favorite to win it all. But she ends up hitting the ice on more than one occasion and places 4th. Is this a vindication? I mean, should people feel relaxed and relieved, or are we still really high on the fact that why was she competing in the first place?
Well, there's so many layers here. Why was she competing in the first place? But let's keep in mind, this is a 15-year-old, and there's a human tragedy going on here for that reason. I mean, she was being taken advantage of by the Russian Olympic Committee and by people who run the Olympics. And frankly, because she's so talented, there's a lot of money to be made off of her. So she was in a really rotten position. Yeah, we should have standardized rules. And yes, she should have been disqualified. And I guess there's the feeling right now that by falling and finishing 4th, the problem kind of took care of itself. But I don't see it that way. To me, it's just more evidence and really the crowning jewel on what a fiasco this particular Olympiad has become.
Well, and to top it off, it is the end is near. It's the 20th will be the final day of competition, and then eventually the Paralympics will get underway. But it's the story for over a week now has been this. It's gonna. I think when we look back on this Olympics in the future, much like Sochi, that'll be it. It'll be the drug incidences with Russia and competitors from Russia. I think, we just talked about Michaela Schifrin. I think people will forget about that. I think she will be remembered for the time she did medal and the run she did complete, and what she was able to do for the women in that sport, and specifically Team USA. Now, some other Team USA news, curling. The men's curling team was not able to get back-to-back gold medals. They have fallen to the bronze medal round. I don't know if you're into curling or if you even consider it a sport, but that is actually a huge disappointment for Team USA because it's curling, Coach A, and I don't know where the athleticism lies, but it's curling.
But it's almost like surgery. And one thing I can do is sweep. Okay, so if like Herschel Walker wanted to become a bobsledder, I really have some background here. So I guess if I wanted to become a curler, I mean, the one thing I can do is sweep. Just like George Gervin used to say, the one thing I can do is finger roll. So maybe that's in my future, something to look forward to. And then I can get the yips doing that too.
How would you get the yips doing like you keep dropping the broom? I don't know. What would be the yips for sweeping?
Well, that would be it. For example, like you get straw on the ice, or you could fall down, or there is a lot of precision in that. It's almost surgical. And the thing is, let's say this. We talk about some sports you have to suspend disbelief to enjoy. Here's what you need to enjoy curling. You need beer. You need beer. And by the way, today is International Wine Day. I was just looking at this show prep because this is big time radio here, and I appreciate this. And we've got some show prep here, but it's International Wine Day. And they pointed out that Hippocrates, the father of all medicine, here's what he did. Here's how he founded medicine. He prescribed wine for everything. It didn't matter what you had. You had gout, you had a hangnail, it didn't matter. You need a glass of wine. One more reason to like Hippocrates.
We love it. We love chatting with Coach A. One more Olympic note here for you. The U.S. women's hockey team, they were in the gold medal game against Canada. Unfortunately, lost that one. I feel like hockey, the women's game in the Olympics is always great, but I feel like the men's game helps bring the women's game a little bit more into light. And because the NHL and everything going on still with COVID did not allow players to go over to the Olympics, I don't think hockey as a whole in this Olympics got the limelight it typically receives and the attention that it typically gets and the storylines that typically come along with it. So I didn't even realize that we were playing these games. The next thing I know, Team USA versus Canada in the gold medal game. And then I turn around, close my eyes for a few seconds, wake up, and USA has lost to Canada. That itself is not necessarily too surprising. But I just, with the idea that we aren't allowing our professionals go over there, I personally wasn't a big fan that the NHL set the mandate for it. I think it should have been a personal decision, much like it was in the Summer Olympics for those NBA athletes.
Yeah, they're trying to get it straightened out going forward. And of course, our men lost in the quarterfinals. The one thing I will say, I was sad that our women didn't win the gold medal after all. But if you have to lose, and if you have to lose in hockey, isn't it okay losing to Canada? It's like, it's all good. We're buddies. I feel bad about losing, but I don't feel that bad. So, if you hearken back to that amazing moment back in 1980, do you believe in miracles? Yes. I mean, that was one of the most exciting things that I ever witnessed as a sports fan. And it was inspiring to all of us as patriots. And, that was at a point in the relationship between the United States and at the time, the Soviet Union. I mean, this was so politically charged. And the Americans were such underdogs. And you remember Al Michaels' call on that. I mean, that would be a top 5 sports memory for me.
Coach A, Paul Alexander, sitting in with us on I almost said Tuesday. It's a Friday. It's a football Friday here on the Chris Duel Show. We'll talk some football here in the next segment, as well as Texas basketball. They've got a big one coming up against Texas Tech. It's the Chris Duel Show.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah.
You're up.
Chris Duel.
Hour number 2 on a football Friday. If you're heading to work, you've almost made it. The weekend is nearly here. I can feel it. I can feel it for you. I can definitely feel it for myself too, as I am looking forward to getting my Friday started after the show today. And as we discussed in the 6 o'clock hour, a week from today, I'll be heading off to Vegas after that show. Joining me in place of Chris, who's on vacation, Dave Ayler holding it down in the production studio, playing the hits, and one Mr. Coach A, Paul Alexander. Paul, I need to get something off my chest, and it's kind of like a complaint kind of thing, but I feel like you with your radically rational, you have great perspective, and Dave, feel free to chime in on this. I became a homeowner about 2 years ago now. Very fortunate that I got in when I did, considering what the housing market looks like now. And you know, I'm a 20-something at the time a single girl who needed protection at the house. I don't have any weapons, so I got a security system, and it is a great one. I mean, let me tell you, when the smoke gets going in my kitchen as I'm burning something, those alarms go off immediately, and I'm getting phone calls from my security company making sure that I am all right, and almost insisting that they send the fire department over, because apparently they don't believe in me as a human being and just as a functioning adult. But another thing I have that so many others have these days is a video doorbell. Do either of you have one?
Yes, I have one.
Do not.
You do not. Okay, Coach, then you're not going to feel my heartbreak, but I think you can still give me some perspective here. So these video doorbells are amazing for obvious reasons, but they also they come with a lot of notifications. And me on my phone, I do not do any push notifications. I do not like the little symbols that pop up to say you have X amount of something going on here. I don't like any sort of notification. Let me live my life. But the one thing I do get notifications for is for my doorbell, because I want to know when someone's at my front door, because I, like any millennial growing up in this generation, if someone knocks on my door or rings my doorbell, I'm not going to go to the door and open it to see who it is. I'm going to sneak around to a window. I'm going to look through my now video camera and see who it is. I want to know what's going on. Same thing goes for something sketchy's going on around the neighborhood, or it's an odd time of night.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm going to be safe when I open that door. But the other issue is that these doorbells catch everything that walks by, and you can adjust the angles. And my angles are very close and they're very tight. You have to be on my sidewalk right in front of my door in order for this thing to pick you up. And lucky for me, so lucky for me, you guys, my neighbor, I won't name names, but my neighbor walks by on my sidewalk multiple times a day with the dog, because she's going to see my other neighbor to see if they want to go on a walk. They want to go on a little walk around the community. So much so that there was an anonymous HOA email sent out to all of the people in our little community last week that said, hey, if you're walking your dog, don't walk in front of people's doors, because nearly everyone has a camera. So nearly everyone is getting random alerts that people are outside. Okay. Now, I had put some plants in my garage for the recent cold spell, and putting them back out, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get strategic here. I'm gonna put this potted plant on the corner of my sidewalk where she always walks by to get from my other neighbor's house back to her house. I'm gonna block her pathway. I'm gonna make her go through the driveway like a normal human being already would. And Coach A, I'm taking a nap yesterday, doing my thing, and then my phone makes a noise because, again, the only thing I get alerts from is from my doorbell. And I open the video, and what is it? It is my neighbor on video, and I play it so I can hear what's going on. And she's walking her dog along that same path straight to my sidewalk, and I hear, oh, what a cute little potted plant, as she like brushes by it. It's almost like she's doing it on purpose now. I mean, she should just start waving at the camera or saying hello when she walks by. Give me something to work with other than just damn it, here you are again, just waking me up. And then this morning, I am getting ready for the show, and she is out there at 5:20 a.m. If this had been Monday, and I'm on vacation, and I'm at home asleep at that time, I'm annoyed out of my mind. I don't know if you can tell, but what do I do? Do I need to buy more plants? Do I need to build a wall? Am I in the wrong?
Just need more technology, right? You probably just need more technology, and I'm saying that sarcastically. I mean, you can tell what a technophile I am. I want to take this phone this morning and just kind of throw it through the window. I want to thank Dave Ayler for saving me from myself as well. But yeah, I got out of the homeowners business a few years ago. My wife and I did, after doing it a long time, and it really is kind of liberating. And I certainly understand the need for security. I mean, sadly, we live in days and times where that's absolutely necessary. But I think in trying to find a technological solution to everything, I think we're kind of driving ourselves crazy a little bit. But I agree with you. I mean, that is out of bounds when they start messing with your plants and things like that. So I guess our security right now is here. Meet our dog, Frankie. So that's the extent of our security right now. And all Frankie would do is just lick somebody. So
now, what kind of dog is Frankie?
Frankie is a beautiful lab husky mix, and he's a black dog with a white tuxedo, and he's got blue eyes, and that's the reason his name is Frankie, for Frank Sinatra. And we all get emotional about our dogs, right?
Of course.
Frankie may be the single sweetest soul that I have ever encountered on earth. I mean, Frankie just loves everything and everybody.
I feel the same way about my dog, who also, whenever these alarms go off, wakes her up, makes her think, oh, it's time to go do something. That's just an added bonus to the life I'm living now. Dave, you said you had one of these video cameras. Or do you experience what I experienced? Because I'm tired of it.
Yeah, a little bit, because the way my mind's set up is if somebody pulls in my driveway, it goes off. So I know, but it also picks up my neighbor's driveway, where if he's out just walking on his property, he's on his side of the property, it'll sometimes go off if he's down towards the end of his driveway. But I just pick it up and look at I go, okay, that's Clarence walking around in his backyard.
Clarence.
If I was you, yeah, well, that's his name. So if I was you, I would just get like bigger plants and like put up trees or something.
I mean, I have a really giant potted plant, like that's by my door. So it's not in the walkway at all, but I'm almost like, should I just switch them out? Because she didn't get the hint the first time. Maybe she'd get the hint there. I think the real solution is I just need like a couple of acres of land. And so that way, when I get that notification, I know that it's someone coming to my door, someone that does not have business being on my property, because I have that much space that is mine and mine alone. Coach A, you look like you have.
I need you guys. Yeah, because I'm going through a similar thing here, and we're all family here. We're trying to help each other work through these problems. Okay, the home ownership thing doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I enjoy being a homeowner. I'm now enjoying not being a homeowner. That's fine, but there is something that's really getting deep in my head. It's almost like having the yips about dropping a football or something like that. Okay, there's nothing in the world that I enjoy more than grilling and smoking. I love my barbecue pit. Okay, we live in an apartment complex right now, and you can't have a barbecue pit. And the reason I know is because I tried to put one out there and they busted me. So I'm done with that. Okay, I tried to kind of sneak it past them and it didn't work. And I get that, but I know this sounds completely neurotic, because it's completely neurotic, but I have to have it. I mean, it really, really bugs me. It's the single most relaxing thing I do, to the point where I think I mean this. You said you want to go out and buy a couple of acres. This is what I'd like to do. And I said this to my wife a couple of nights ago, and she looked at me like, you're even crazier than I knew you were. But I would love to go buy a plot of ground. And then they ask you, well, how are you going to improve this piece of property? You going to put a house on it? No. I'm going to put a barbecue pit on it. And then I might put a second, smaller barbecue pit on it and a couple of chairs. And that's it. That's my property. That's what I own. That's what I pay property taxes on. And I'm really not kidding. I mean, I got to the point a couple of weeks ago, we hit a beautiful day. And, we get some days like that in February. And I wanted to go to Brackenridge Park and just take some charcoal and go out to one of those state park grills and just start a fire and cook something. I don't know, crickets, grasshoppers, something like that. But I mean, I've got to get my grill back.
I mean, what have you?
Paul, what you need to do is, find somebody with a house, or at least a backyard, and say, "Hey, you mind if I come over and grill?" Because trust me, any homeowner will let anybody come over and cook some food, leave a plate for them. Paul, if I was to sell my house, I'd let you come over right now. You can set up your stuff in my backyard. I'll leave the side gate unlocked for you. Just come over, cook for me. You can have all the backyard you want.
You are so right. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what we're doing tomorrow. Okay, we're going to somebody else's house, and we have volunteered. Yeah, we'll grill, and when we go see the kids and the grandkids and stuff like that, everybody want food, want a lot of food. So, I know that you get all this incinerated stuff, and it's not supposed to be good for you, but it's sure good for the soul, and I miss it.
So I guess you're not on the Instapot game then. You're a grill guy. You don't use the Instapot, because I've done like wings in my Instapot, and that the Instapot air fryer, those turned out okay, but it's not the same as a grilled wing.
Now that we're into the second hour of my confessing how generally pitiful I am, let me add this to it. I can't take a grill out on the patio. We live on the third floor of an apartment complex, and I can't take a grill out there. And like I said, I know because I got busted. I tried telling them that the smoke was not from a grill. It's just that we had elected a new pope, and that's the smoke that you were seeing, but they didn't buy it. And they even called the fire department on me. But here's what I do. We've got this small George Foreman grill where you just plug it in.
I've got one
How
of those.
pathetic is this?
I've got one.
I take it out on the patio and plug it in, and I fire up my George Foreman grill and pretend that it's the real thing. Poor, pitiful me.
I love that you take it outside, because you totally don't need to, but there's just something about creating that environment as best as you can. That is some awesome stuff. We're talking with Coach A, Paul Alexander, and just kind of getting things off our chest this morning. If you want to get something off your chest, sports related or otherwise, we're totally here for it. 800-707-9760. And if you got any takes on this hot Texas Tech basketball game, number 20 Texas versus number 11 Texas Tech. Texas Tech got the better of the Horns the last go round, but this time the Horns are hosting. Immediate thoughts given the last game, Coach. Obviously it was home court advantage in Lubbock, obviously, but there is a fear in me and what I've heard from Texas Tech fans, that they are coming in waves, that they are coming strong, that they expect to have home court advantage once again, but this time in Club Irwin. I fear that may be what they need and might help them get over the edge of the Horns one more time. Your initial thoughts on this matchup that's surely to be hostile once again for Coach Beard?
My initial thought is I am all in, because they hate each other. And I don't care what sport we're playing, when there is genuine competitive hatred, not only among the players, but among the coaches, and especially among the fan bases, that's absolutely great. I mean, looking back as far back as the old Southwest Conference, that actually was my favorite rivalry in the SWC, was Texas and Texas Tech, because that was real. There's some other rivalries where it's a little bit contrived, a little bit concocted. No, that was genuine ill will was going on there. And it's particularly focused. It's easier to focus it in a basketball game because everything's right in front of you and you're right there courtside and everybody's feelings are raw. And I'm pulling for the Horns on this. My only concern, and Shannon, I'll ask you about this, is that team has just been so up and down. I mean, you'll see them one night and you think, wow, man, sky's the limit. And they'll follow that up with an immediate clunker. So I think consistency is kind of the issue for them right now.
Yes, we will continue that conversation after this quick break at 7:20. This is the last week for your shot at getting $1,000 in your hand. Here's the 7 o'clock hour keyword.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Green. That's green. Enter it on our station website now.
Keyword green. Head over to Ticket 760 and am13onthezone.com and enter that keyword. We'll have another one for you in the 8 o'clock hour. Talking college hoops with Coach A. Great games on this weekend. Coach, you were talking about the rivalry, and I think clearly you talk about manufactured rivalries and then something like this and how it used to be in the Southwest Conference. But now looking at it now, given the situation with Coach Beard and some players having gone from Texas Tech to Texas, I mean, it's really built everything back up again. As long as Chris Beard is coaching this Texas basketball program, I think that genuine hate will linger, even when Texas does make the jump to the SEC. And you talk about these teams and the up and down, and that's kind of the thing that's really been Texas's way of life in basketball for so many years now, is that we see them win these games that, the UNCs and the Tennessees, these games that you don't think they maybe stand a chance, and then they end up pulling them off, and they have a hard time winning the games that they're supposed to win. But they need to be winning all of them, especially down the stretch. The season is quickly coming to a close. We are a month out now, I believe, from the start of the big tournament. That is always exciting, but as Texas fans, always a little nerve-wracking too, because we're so used to, as of late, being either one and done or just not even getting the invite. I still can't believe that they have an NIT championship banner hanging in the Irwin Center. That's just embarrassing. Wanted to ask you this because to me, this is the biggest game this weekend, given what went down the last time. Both teams in the top 25. This game is at 11:30 on a Saturday. Why? Is this the same as college football? Because I've heard that, the 11 o'clock times are generally the better attended viewing wise for college football games during the season, that the 11 a.m. ones are the best viewing times for ratings purposes. But I would feel like this one is worthy of a later slot. Is it because the NBA All-Star Weekend? Why did they put these two teams here?
I'm being facetious, maybe, but could it be a safety concern? Okay, that we better play this one like
Don't let them get too drunk
in the morning before things get really dangerous. And by the way, you mentioned that NIT banner. Okay, here I go being pitiful again. I covered that team. Okay, Ron Baxter, Jim Krevax, and by the way, they got hot late in the year. And they didn't get a NCAA tournament invitation, obviously, but they went to the NIT and just blew through everybody. And that was a team that got so good late in the year. Abe Lemons, the amazing Abe Lemons, man, do I have some Abe Lemons stories, coached that team. And by the end of the year, my strong feeling is they would have been at least a Sweet 16 team in the NCAA tournament. Well, they were a lot of fun. Playing in the Irwin Center, which we call the Superdome.
Yeah, Club Irwin, it's about to go away, about to be moody. That'll open here in the next couple of months. So get out to the Irwin Center while you still can to check out some Texas basketball. Want to talk a little Joe Burrow now. I do have some Joe Burrow news for you in the shakedown, but we're hearing now that he actually had quite the injury. It's not serious enough for him to get surgery this offseason, but that he was playing with an MCL tear for a majority of that Super Bowl. We saw him go down. We didn't really hear much about it. There's even a video now of him kind of somberly walking out of the stadium following the game in that suit, but he's got quite the limp. He's also got his head droop because he just lost the Super Bowl. But he's kind of turning into a Superman in his own right on the field of play there. And then on top of that, people who have watched the game again and watched it back and are watching the tape and are analyzing and reanalyzing everything that is the Super Bowl, that final play for the Bengals when Joe Burrow took a sack, people are saying, had there been just an added couple of seconds onto the time, if that O-line could have held on just a little bit longer, that his buddy Jamar Chase was actually wide open, that could have been a touchdown, and the game would have gone completely differently, would have been the Bengals Super Bowl at that point. Your thoughts on Joe Burrow and his play and what could have been the final play of that game?
There is so much to unpack here. I mean, my goodness, Joe Burrow is a tough guy. But let's start with this. Now, he may have had Chase open downfield, but even in that just frantic attempt to get rid of the ball, it almost looked like Patrick Mahomes, and he got it close enough to Pirine that I understand Pirine is taking a lot of grief and a lot of criticism for not diving for the football, because if you go back and look at the replay, I mean, it really was kind of in the radius there. He got it. And we saw Burrow go down with the knee injury, and we saw that horrible tight cutaway of his face, and you could tell how much pain he was in, and immediately I was thinking the worst. Now, this is the other knee from the ACL that he blew out in his rookie year and came back 8 months later, miraculously. They say this is not going to require surgery. It is an MCL injury, and it's sprained, which means their fiber's torn, but it's not torn all the way through. They're really lucky because they could have lost their franchise quarterback yet again. And the Bengals are going to have to make some decisions here. I don't want to be critical, but remember last year in the draft, Burrow had already taken all these hits last year in his rookie season and had been knocked out of the sport, had to have major surgery, et cetera. And we know that the Bengal offensive line has been a sieve. So the Bengals front office had a decision to make. Do we go out and get him a weapon in Jamar Chase, or do we do something about that offensive line? And they made a decision. And to be fair, Dave and Shannon, you really can't criticize them. I mean, they got to the Super Bowl. This is a team that won 4 games last year and 2 games the year before that. They obviously made the right decision because you had to sequence those things. You could not address both of them at once. But now he's gone through another year where he got hit so many times. He took more than 50 sacks. He got sacked, 9 times against the Titans and 7 times in the Super Bowl. You're going to lose your franchise quarterback unless you do something about that. So they have to address it. And I always feel sorry for people to a large degree when they're getting all this public criticism. You talk about the criticism that our American skier is getting. It's gotten so bad, people don't even mention the name of the Cincinnati Bengals right guard. They just call him that guy that plays right guard for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, he took one of the worst whoopings I have ever seen in a football game, and it was directly connected to and attributable to what happened to Joe Burrow. So they got to do something about that. And I know the front office got criticism, but again, how can you slam them? You got Jamar Chase. You got to the Super Bowl, again, with a team that won 4 games a year ago. So sometimes you have to do these things in stages, but they have to address that and they have to get that right. Or not only will they not get back to a Super Bowl, they will lose that guy.
Bengals, you got to help out and protect Joe Burrow. If not for your team, if not for the chance at another Super Bowl, do it for America because America loves them some Joe Burrow. And we'll get into some reasons why coming up in the Salty Shakedown, as well as sports history and sports birthdays with Coach A. You are listening to the Chris Duel Show on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Yep.
Don't mind me just sitting here getting more video doorbell notifications that my neighbor, really into walking her dog, just really adamant about walking her dog and checking on my other neighbor to see if she too wants to walk her dog. We don't even live in a giant community. It is the smallest lap you will ever take. It's great for my little four-legged dog, but for like normal sized dogs, the like medium, large, you're gonna need at least 10 of those to get anything done. I don't know why we're walking our dogs so much. If you could just stop, that would be great. It's very cold outside. I suggest you just stay inside and keep it warm and all bundled up this morning. If you haven't yet, check out our Twitter pages, Ticket 760 AM 13 on the Zone, and let us know what you'll be watching this weekend. Now the football season has officially come to a close with last weekend's Super Bowl. A lot of votes coming in for All-Star Weekend as well as college baseball. Of course, there's that huge Texas Tech basketball game. And the Olympics will come to a close by the end of the week. And Coach A. Paul Alexander sitting in for Chris, who is on break because of NBA All-Star Weekend. He's taking some much-deserved time off. We are cherishing every moment we have left with Dave Ayler. He joins us again today. But Coach A, it is 7:38 on the Chris Duel Show, so I do believe it is time for some On This Day in Sports History.
For sure. On this date in 1960, Walter O'Malley, remember, the LA Dodger owner, he purchased Chavez Ravine for $494,000. That's like buying Manhattan Island for $24. Amazing. Yeah, return on investment for sure. In 1981, 20-year-old Edmonton center Wayne Gretzky, yeah, I think I've heard of him, becomes the first player in NHL history to score 5 career hat tricks before the age of 21. He scored 5 goals and 2 assists in an Oilers 9-2 home win against the St. Louis Blues. In 1986, yeah, I remember this guy in this game, in fact. San Antonio Spurs guard Alvin Robertson scores the NBA's second ever quadruple double. He had 20 points, 11 boards, 10 assists, and 10 steals. Now, he could steal the basketball in a 120-114 Spurs win over the Phoenix Suns. This one is sad and chilling. It'll just stop you. On this date in 2001, the 43rd Daytona 500, Michael Waltrip wins that tragic race, but we all recall on the last lap, we lost Dale Earnhardt, prompting the sport to implement new safety procedures, and we all just couldn't believe it happened. You know, an hour later, a day later, a week later, you just didn't think it was real. What a tragic day. Birthdays. 1895. Today is your birthday. George the Gipper Gipp. Win one for the Gipper. American football player at Notre Dame, was born in Lurium, Michigan on this date in 1920. 1938, Manny Mota. What a wonderful baseball name. Dominican baseball outfielder for the Dodgers, born in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic. Also the home of Joaquin Andujar, one of my favorites ever. 1944, the late former Denver Broncos owner Pat Bowlen was born on this day in Wisconsin, and he passed away in 2019. And he was really well regarded around the National Football League. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say about him. And in 1962, Gary Reasons. Remember him? The linebacker for the Giants. He was involved in all those great games with the Cowboys. He was born in Crowley, Texas. And all I remember about that era, Shannon and Dave, is guys wore those great big old shoulder pads, right? And nobody had bigger shoulder pads than Gary Reasons. So that is this date in sports history and your sports birthdays. Time now for the Salty Shakedown.
We talked a lot about the Rams victory parade yesterday, and one of the stories we discussed was this photographer that fell off stage because the video of her fall went viral, not because of her fall, but because of the reaction from quarterback Matthew Stafford. He and his wife were standing near the photographer when she fell. Matthew Stafford, who had been a little intoxicated, he was carrying around a bottle of 1942 that he had been sipping on throughout the parade route. He saw the photographer fall. You could see him mouth, "Oh my gosh," took a sip of his water bottle, and then turned and walked away while his wife, Kelly, rushed over to this photographer. In closing out the show yesterday, Coach A, we had an update on the photographer who fell. Her name, also Kelly. she actually really injured herself. She fractured her spine with that fall. And with that also broke the 2 cameras as well as the equipment that she had on her. There was a GoFundMe that was started for her to help pay for hospital bills. And the goal was $30,000. As of yesterday afternoon, it was at $42,000. Reaction from the video online did not take kindly to Matthew Stafford. A lot of people saying him being intoxicated wasn't an excuse to not offer any sort of assistance or, go act in a way of like, hey, I'm going to go get like a medical person. He just kind of acted like he not my problem kind of situation. If I'm Kelly Stafford and I'm in the car with Matthew Stafford on the way home, I'm asking, what if that was one of our kids, huh? What's wrong with you? But since then, and since I don't know if it's because of the backlash or because this photographer who does work with the NFL, NBA, NHL, and also does some freelance work, the Rams and Staffords have said they are going to pay not only for her hospital bills, but to replace the equipment that was broken, including those 2 cameras. So this is, I think, of the parade, I would have never expected that this would be a story that would take over. Unfortunately, it has. I mean, thank goodness that she's getting the help and recovery and the financial backing from the Rams now, because this is obviously not how she expected to celebrate the Rams Super Bowl and being a part of history and taking those photos. But your thoughts on the kind of the way Matthew handled it, and do you think he needs to apologize? Do you think he needs to send out one of those beloved Notes app apologies on social media to kind of cover his back here, that people are still going after him online for the way he handled it?
Well, I think he needs to apologize to her. Now, whether or not that needs to be public and on social media, I think the important thing there is that it be sincere. Look, let's face it, it was a bad look. There's no question about it. On the other hand, Matthew Stafford, I think, has no malice. I think he's genuinely a good guy. I'm sure he is remorseful about that. You look at all the ingredients that go into that scenario, and something like that is prone to happen. So I wish the young lady the absolute best and a speedy recovery. And I think it's great that the Staffords are stepping up and paying the medical bills, going to replace the equipment. You're not going to make the whole thing go away. I'm sure that everybody's very remorseful. I'm sure that Stafford is embarrassed. And you can kind of see it happen. It's just that delayed reaction thing that happens with respect to rising VAC.
Yes.
It's one of these. You're trying to follow your hand, and you're about 2 feet behind it. So not a good thing, but hopefully we can all go on from here.
I like what you said. He owes her an apology, but that doesn't mean the apology needs to be shared with the masses. I think so often people, when they see a celebrity do something wrong that they feel like they should apologize for, they don't owe that apology to you. So you don't get to sit here and say that they did or did not apologize if they did that behind closed doors. Not everything does need a Notes app apology posted on social media. Coach, another viral video from the Super Bowl has taken wave, and this one involving Joe Burrow. I told you we give him another reason to love him, or maybe a reason to hate him. It just depends on how you look at it. Dave, we've got some audio here. This from NFL Films. This is Joe Burrow on the field during the Super Bowl, chatting it up with opposing players.
Hey, Vaughn. Hey, Vaughn. Joe, nice to meet you, brother. What up, Aaron? Hey, Eric. I'm Joe. Nice to meet you, brother. I love watching you growing up. Love watching you growing up, man. I appreciate you, brother. Yes, sir.
Listen, I could watch hours of NFL footage of just mic'd up players, but the fact that this is the Super Bowl, and Joe already being such a lovable guy from the outside looking in, then you get this audio of him taking in the moment, taking advantage of these guys that he doesn't get to play against often, talking to Eric Waddle, saying, hey, I love watching you. Nice to meet you. The fact that he is the quarterback at a Super Bowl and is introducing himself. Hey, I'm Joe Burrow. I love it, but I can also understand why people might dislike it. It's the Super Bowl. That is your opponent. You shouldn't be talking with them. You need to be focused on the game at hand. How do you take this video here, Coach A?
I don't see how anybody could be critical. I mean, first of all, are you really doubting Joe Burrow's competitiveness? Really? And you're going to make an assessment on that? I thought that was a gesture of personal and professional respect. I thought it was refreshing. I thought it was reflective of the fact that even though he's playing in the Super Bowl, he's still a human being and he can maintain his composure. And it's one more reason why he really is Joe Cool. And I like that. Now, there was one thing. Did anybody else notice this? Did you see the coin toss before the game? Okay, so the Bengals brought out, I think, 5, 6 captains, something like that. And the Rams just trot out Stafford, and that's it. Now, if you did want to see some psyching going on, at the end of the coin toss, they're doing the handshakes. Burrow pretty well blew Stafford off. I mean, he gave him one of these, wet, limp fish handshakes, and that was kind of it. So I think at that moment, there may have been some psyching going on. But in terms of just acknowledging people like that, and I love the way he introduced himself. He didn't big time himself. He just said, "Hi, I'm Joe." That's the way you do that. That's, to me, at some point, that is the value of football. That professional respect, that competitive respect, the personal relationships that you get. If you don't have that, there's really not a good reason to play that sport.
Well, and I love, if you noticed during that video, the first person he was trying to get the attention of was Von Miller. Hey, Von.
Oh, I try to make friends with him, too. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
hey, buddy, we're good, right?
Von Miller, I don't know if maybe Von just wasn't mic'd or close enough, but from that video, it seems like Von wasn't having it at that moment. We'll talk and shake hands after the game. That's interesting you bring up that coin toss, because I did, in watching the pregame and seeing all those Bengals lined up against Matthew Stafford, I was like, where's the rest of them? Like, where is Aaron Donald? Where are the other guys that I would expect to be out there on the field? But I guess Matthew Stafford was enough, and clearly at the end of the day it was, because they ended up taking that one home. All right, finally, sir, today's final story. We're going back to the Olympics, because as you know, the Olympics are huge for countries that get them. And I know that more and more as we continue to schedule out future Olympics, less countries are willing and wanting to take part, because they spend all of this money to build all of these buildings, to create all of these things. And a lot of times they go unused after the fact. And so they end up losing out on a lot of money. It's not like in most places in the U.S. where the infrastructure is already there, and things will continue to be used and throughout time and in future uses. And like LA, who's going to be getting, I believe it's the 2028 Summer Olympics. And with creating and getting your own Olympics, it comes with a logo. And obviously you create the giant spectacle that is the opening and closing ceremonies. And you also introduce a mascot. And the mascots are usually some plushy like animal figure that everyone can fall in love with. And this year's mascot, for those that aren't aware, is a panda, which makes sense. It is the animal of China. The panda's name is Bing Duen Duen. And this panda is so popular, apparently, Coach A. Now, if you win a medal, you get a panda for free, which, I mean, we talked yesterday about the figure skating team for Team USA right now not receiving their medals yet because of the drug incident. And so for the time being, they get an Olympic torch. I wonder if they'll also get their panda ahead of time. Maybe not. Maybe they're missing out on the panda too. But if I'm them, I want that panda, because those pandas are retailing for $30, these stuffed animal pandas. And they're so hard to come by right now that people are reselling them for $160, $160 for what originally was a $30 panda. And this panda isn't just a stuffed animal. It is on everything. It is on clothing. It is on pins. There are other versions of this panda available. And at 9 a.m. every day, the Olympic store restocks over there in Beijing. And at 9 a.m., there are apparently 75 plus people in line to go into that store and buy their limit of 2 items that they can get with the panda on there. And that store is nearly sold out minutes after opening. I've never known. I mean, this is almost feel like a Beanie Baby craze with this panda going on that so many people want it, sir. These are on back order. I want you to guess the number of pandas right now that are on back order.
Can't you just go to the rodeo carnival?
I know.
And win one.
I know.
Throw a bean bag at a bowling pin or something like
right,
that,
but
and call yourself an Olympic champion.
It's not the Bing Duen Duen though. That's what we're going after. Do you have an idea, either of you, Dave, Paul, the number of back-ordered pandas right now?
I'm sure it has a lot of commas and a lot of zeros. I'm certain of that.
Say there's 1 billion people in China, so I'll say 500 million.
500,000. 500,000 pandas,
Good
and the
Lord.
factory that produces these pandas can only make 4,000 a day. So you are already on a wait list for at least 125 days just for your panda to be made. This just feels insane to me. I
don't need a panda that bad.
Right. Growing up, I had a stuffed animal, and I still have that stuffed animal just for like sentimental reasons. It's in my closet. But I was never the kid who, whenever I was at a fair or whenever I was at a toy store and thought, man, I need a stuffed animal, because what do they do other than sit there? Right. And on top of that, like, I'm also not great at getting
That's the beauty.
souvenirs.
They don't talk back.
Right. Yeah. Though I'm also not great at getting souvenirs when I have gone to other cities or states or countries. Right. Like, sometimes I get a T-shirt. I've started to do the thing like my mom, where I get a Christmas ornament, because that's something that I'll use once a year and be able to remember, and it'll be a whole thing. But I'm still not great at it, right? And so I don't know if this has become like, now we're just going to get stuffed animals. Now the Olympic stuffed animals are going to be worth something one day. How could they be worth something one day if we're now producing 500,000 of them because they're on back order? This is just one of the more insane stories of all the insane stories that has come out of this Olympics thus far. I never thought my top Olympic story for today would be discussing pandas, but here we are. The Bing Duan panda. If you can get your hands on one, you can make a pretty buck in flipping it. So there it is, today's Salty Shakedown. Coach, we are coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, and I want to have some fun with you. Usually it's football season here, and so we're used to picking football games, but we don't have any football games coming up this weekend. But we do have the NBA All-Star Weekend. They really kind of changed some things up and how they're going to do things. It's going to be I think a good time, much better than the NFL's Pro Bowl. By far and away. I mean, let's face it, that's not hard to do. But you and I are going to go through the events. We're going to go through the participants and talk about the events, and we're going to make some picks. So I hope you're ready. I know you're just now getting into the basketball season, but I hope you're ready, because I like doing picks, because it gets me more involved in things like the All-Star Weekend, right? Because I've got something online. I'm going head-to-head against Coach A, Paul Alexander. Are you ready, sir? Next segment. You have about 10 minutes to prepare. Are you ready?
Oh, let's do it for sure. And here's what I have going for me: complete and total ignorance. And that beats knowledge every single time. So if I win this, it's just dumb luck.
All right. Well, we'll get Dave to get in on this too with us to help us with the tiebreaker. We'll do that coming back, talk NBA All-Star Weekend. We'll also talk some Dallas Cowboys, and if we've got time, some USFL, because they have debuted their uniforms ahead of the start of their inaugural season. It is the Chris Duel Show, Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone.
Got my hands in the air right now, cause I just want to be here right now. I did it. 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 I did it.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Yeah.
You're up.
Chris Duel.
Hour number 3 on a Football Friday, the Chris Duel Show. Live, Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone, covering all of Central Texas, available on the iHeartRadio app. If you miss any part of the show, make sure you check out the podcast, The Chris Duel Show, available on that iHeartRadio app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Also, make sure you hit up the websites, both Ticket 760 and AM 1300, to check out the blog page, because we've always got some fun things going on for you over there. That's also the website you need for the keyword to get $1,000 in your hand. Your shot again at 8:20. Again, this is the last week we're doing this for a while, so make sure you're ready and stick right here with us at 8:20 for that keyword. You guys, it is NBA All-Star Weekend. The festivities kick off tonight on TNT. They're taking place in Cleveland, Ohio this year. I don't know that that's like a marquee destination, but nevertheless, that's where things are taking place. And we've got a lot of superstars of both the league and the G League that'll be there and participating. So we're going to go through. We're going to make our picks. Dave, if we've got some background music, because I know we can't use NFL films because we're not picking football, and that makes me sad. But
Basketball Jones.
What?
Got a basketball Jones, oh baby. Ooh.
I know Paul knows this music.
Absolutely.
What is? I mean, I
need
like
somebody
it.
to set a pick for me at the free throw line of life.
Basketball Jones by Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little baby, I always
I love my basketball just like it was a basketball.
I was the baddest dribbler.
So this is a parody of something, or what? This is a real song.
Then one day,
I
my
have
This
no
is a real
idea.
song.
Okay,
By Cheech and Chong. You know,
it sounds like
don't tell
me
you
singing
don't know what
it.
Cheech and Chong is.
I don't know. This sounds like when I'm trying to do a falsetto, and it's not pretty.
Just go out
There's
and
basketball
pick
like
up
that?
any Cheech and Chong movie.
All right.
Pick up any Cheech and Chong movie, and you'll get it.
Always learning something here on the Chris Duel Show. Kicking things off tonight, NBA All-Star Weekend, is the Clorox Rising Stars Challenge. You guys, they are switching up the way they do things this year. It's kind of going to be a miniature tournament going on with 4 teams coached by former NBA All-Stars themselves. We've got Team Barry, Team Isaiah, Team Peyton, and Team Worthy. And we'll go through some of the big names on the teams, and we'll pick which team will win it all. These teams do also include G League players, which is pretty cool. Each team has 1 G League player included. Team Barry, big name on that one is definitely going to be Cade Cunningham with Detroit Pistons, as well as, let's see, we've got a Houston Rockets player on there if you want any Texas love. 2 of them, actually, Jashawn Tate and Alperen Seguin. And the G League player coming from the Ignite team, and Dyson Daniels. Team Isaiah, Desmond Bain of the Memphis Grizzlies, and their G League team player Jaden Hardy. Also Isaiah Stewart of that Detroit Pistons team. LaMelo Ball highlights Team Peyton, of course, from the Charlotte Hornets. They've got another Ignite player from their G League, Scott Henderson, to join them as well. And then Team Worthy, we've got Cole Anthony of the Orlando Magic, Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets, and their G League representative also from Ignite, Marjan Beauchamp. You guys, this is probably going to be the more difficult, more of a bit of a close your eyes and see what sticks kind of pick. But let's go through. Coach A, of the 4 teams, which are you taking here for the Rising Stars Tournament Challenge?
This is the only confident pick I'm going to make in this entire shooting match. Team Barry will win for one reason only. That is the nastiest competitor at anything I think I've ever seen. And I know he's 123 right now, but Barry would want to kick every fanny in his family at a 4th of July picnic playing cornhole or something like that. That guy is so hyper competitive. Oh, yeah, Team Barry.
All right, Dave, your thoughts?
Boy, talk about taking a shot in the dark. I'll take Isaiah. just because he'll probably just let his players do whatever they want. They'll be so relaxed that
Also true.
So they'll just be lobbing up or whatever comes their way, just shooting threes the whole time.
All right, so we got Coach A taking Team Barry, Dave taking Team Isaiah. I myself, I'm going to go with Team Peyton because LaMelo Ball is on that team. We've seen him dominate throughout his time in the league thus far, and I know Cade Cunningham. Look, he's great. He's number 1 overall pick, but I think LaMelo Ball is probably going to take this really seriously, right? He has that Rookie of the Year already in his trophy case. I think he wants more. This is a great start for him in his All-Star career. So I've got to take Team Peyton in this one. Excuse me as I get these written down. So that's taking place tonight. Begins at 8 o'clock Central Time on TNT. If you've got any interest in that, it's going to be the 28 players and the couple of teams duking it out in a tournament style matchup. All right, come Saturday, probably my favorite day of the 3 days where we get the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest. Things will kick off at 7 p.m. Central over on TNT. The Taco Bell Skills Challenge. I also love that these are all, sponsored because nothing cannot be sponsored these days. The Taco Bell Skills Challenge. Now, it's interesting how they're doing it this year. We've got Team Brooks, so all rookies, Scotty Barnes from the Toronto Raptors, Cade Cunningham from the Detroit Pistons, and Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then we have Team Cavs, featuring former Longhorn Jared Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. And then we have Team Antetokounmpo. Of course, Giannis is the feature here as the big name of the 3 Antetokounmpos. And then we have his brother Alex, who plays for the Raptors, 905, and then Thanos, who also is on that Bucks team. So pretty interesting, again, how they're changing things up a bit. Team Cavs, Team Antetokounmpo, and Team Rooks. Who do y'all like in this one? The Taco Bell Skills Challenge. Coach A.
Team Rooks, for sure, because they're going to want to do this. This will actually mean something to them. They'll get all fired up, and there's something to be said for want to. Team Rooks.
Dave?
I'll take Cavs because they're on their home court and they want to show off in front of their home fans.
That's right.
So,
I didn't think
Cavs.
about that, but yeah, that's a great listen. I think the whole Team Antetokounmpo thing is all in good fun, but those are some giant men, and watching them try to pass that basketball through a little tire, I just don't know. I don't know, and I don't know how fast they are dribbling. Giannis is a big dude, but he's not the most delicate. And then when it comes to the Cavs, I like it, but again, I do believe in kind of the same way that Coach A is feeling here. The rookies are just going to want it more. They're going to want to show off. They're going to want to be back at these events year in and year out. So they're going to show off, and I think they're going to take this one, the Team Taco Bell Skills Challenge. Next in line, the Mountain Dew 3-point contest. This is always a fun one. I always love it. However, this year there are no Splash Brothers involved. Picking one of them just seemed like a gimme the last couple of years when one or if not both guys were involved from that Golden State and the Splash Brothers duo. So this year's participants, CJ McCollum of the New Orleans Pelicans, Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks, Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls, Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies, Karl Anthony Towns from Minnesota, Fred VanVleet of the Raptors, Luke Kennard of the Clippers, and Patty Mills of the Brooklyn Nets, formerly of the San Antonio Spurs. Of your options, who takes it all? 3-point contests. Don't forget, they do use those ever so elusive money balls, and they've got to place them just perfectly on their favorite spot to get all those extra points. Coach A.
Patty Mills for sure, because I'm a homer and because I love it. Patty Mills for sure.
I'm going Patty Mills too. Same reasons.
Oh, you guys are no fun.
I actually don't think he'll win, but I'm taking Patty Mills.
Patty Mills. Okay. Listen, it almost pains me to say it, but I think Trae Young here. Obviously, we know that he's pretty deadly. He's a deadly shooter. He loves taking those far from distance shots during games, live action games. So I can only imagine what he does without a hand in his face in the 3-point competition. I'm sure he's been working up to this, right? I mean, we saw him in the featured game of Horse. If you recall, when the pandemic shut everything down, they were doing video basketball from their home courts. He was so new to the game. He didn't have a home court yet. He had a driveway and a basketball hoop. and had a taped out lining of where he needed to shoot the ball for that round. It was probably some of the worst television I've ever seen. But now he gets to step up and play in this all-star 3-point contest. I'm hoping that he leads me to victory over the both of you who picked Patty Mills, you homers. Clearly, I'm no homer because Trae Young, former Oklahoma standout. But also, I think after last year and kind of the disappointment of their playoff run, he wants some hardware, and he could get that this weekend with the 3-point competition. And then, of course, I think everyone's favorite contest year in and year out, even though it seems like every year we always talk about, oh, this year was way better. Oh, it'll never be like it used to be, this, that, and the other. Well, listen, we just need some creative minds to play a role in this contest. The Slam Dunk Contest, the ATT Slam Dunk Contest, to close out the night on Saturday. Your participants this year are Cole Anthony of the Orlando Magic, Juan Toscano Anderson of the Warriors, Obi Toppin of the New York Knicks, and Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. This one for me, it's going to be a toss-up, but I'll let you go first here with this one, Coach A. Who you got?
I'm going with the Golden State Warrior because it's like the opposite of the Splash Brothers. So they got to find a way to make a mark there. So he'll get all creative and, and illustrate that team is not just all about 30-foot three-pointers. So, yeah. And also, you never bet against a guy with a hyphen in his name, ever.
Wow. It's going to be tough to pass up that one, but I'm going Jalen Green.
All right.
From Houston.
That's a new one for me, Coach A. Never go against a guy with a hyphen in his name. That's fun. Dave's taking Jalen Green of Houston. I, too, am actually going to be taking Jalen Green. I don't know much about him, but considering how awful Houston has been, and their lack of highlights and their lack of dunks, because they are just losing and losing and losing. I feel like, again, similar to my emphasis for Trae Young of wanting to get hardware, this could be the one shining moment for Jalen Green and his season with the Houston Rockets. And, they need some good pub, and I think he'll work hard to get that for them. And, the young gun, maybe he'll come with some new creativity that we haven't seen yet before in that 18 slam dunk competition. Of course, on Sunday is the big finale, the 71st NBA All-Star Game. They're going to have that brand new MVP Kobe trophy that they've just redesigned. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got Team LeBron versus Team Durant. I'll run through the rosters for you real quick before we get to our picks. Team LeBron, of course, featuring LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Darius Garland, Chris Paul, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, Fred VanVleet, and James Harden. I do believe that James Harden will not be playing, and therefore it'll be Jared Allen stepping in for him instead. Over on Team Durant, Joel Embiid, John Morant, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, Andrew Wiggins, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, DeJounte Murray, Chris Middleton, LaMelo Ball, and Rudy Gobert. Obviously, Durant out of this one. He is injured as well, but because of those votes, he's still got to be team captain. And you know what? Before we make our final picks of this NBA All-Star Weekend, let's go ahead and do it now because we are arriving on 8/20. It is the last week of cash contests. Your chance to get $1,000. We've got another keyword for you here. Make sure you take it over to Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone's websites to enter that keyword for your chance at $1,000. Here it is.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website, bank. That's bank. Enter it on our station website now.
Enter bank over at those websites. I wonder if we'll get any bank shots coming throughout this All-Star game because they always start off kind of slow, right? Almost like a half-court game where it's just guys shooting whatever they want and shooting things just to be ridiculous. They don't really play defense until the end when they remember, oh, wait, there are trophies on the line. There's pride on the line. And I do believe they get paid more if they end up winning the All-Star game. So there's that too. But you guys, after hearing the rosters, Team LeBron, Team Durant, who's your pick?
Team LeBron for sure, for the most basic of reasons. It's the All-Star game, right? They got more stars.
I mean, they're all All-Stars.
LeBron. I can't pick anything LeBron, so I'm going Durant and DeJounte Murray's on that team too. So I'm going to be a homer.
Again with the homerness, you guys. I mean, okay, they'll take it. That's fine. That's always a valid reason, but my goodness. I've got to take Team LeBron again. It kind of pains me to say that, and even still, remembering when they did the picks and them joking about Harden because he had just been traded from the Nets to the 76ers. It would have been awkward had he ended up on Team Durant after he had just left Team Durant, which is, of course, the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going to take Team LeBron in this one. Similar to Coach A, even though they are all stars, I'm reading this Team LeBron roster going, wow. And I'm not getting that feel as much from Team Durant. Also, I'll go ahead and be like Dave, my guy Luka Doncic on Team LeBron, repping the Mavs. So I will go ahead and take that team. That game tips off at 7 o'clock Central on Sunday, TNT. It is the NBA All-Star Weekend. And the reason why Chris Duel is not here with us this week, he will be back with midweek next week when he returns from vacation. I'm not sure where he's going. I hope it's somewhere tropical. I hope he comes back super tan so we can see that on our live video feed. I'm ready to start getting my tan on. If only it would, be above 70 degrees for more than one day. But that's just Central Texas weather there for you. You guys feeling confident in your NBA picks? I know we don't have anything writing on it, but we don't need to make any changes, do we? You feel set?
I'll sign off on my picks.
You'll
there
sign
it
off?
is.
All right, perfect.
PMA. I'll sign off on that. Yeah.
If you've been following my my picks all season, not to take any picks that I come out with because I think I've been wrong on everything all season. So I'm not confident, but I'll sign off on them.
So since we are on the topic of basketball, and just before we hit a break here, I wanted to go through this with you guys. Lids did this for NFL jerseys and teams a couple weeks ago, and now they've come out with another list, this time for the NBA. Top selling jerseys for this season by player as well as by team. The Los Angeles Lakers are the number one selling jersey in 30 states in America. That seems insane to me. I know when the Lakers were in town to play the Spurs, there were a lot of upset Spurs fans of how many Lakers fans got into the arena who were at AT&T Stadium, arena, taking that all in. The Lakers do cover Texas as one of the best-selling jerseys. Of course, everyone's buying up LeBron James. There are some states that were buying up Kobe Bryant jerseys, but no state has a Spur jersey that's hot on the market. Do you find that surprising?
Not really. I mean, when you look at market size, and it's consistent with what we see in other sports. For example, the Cowboys have not won a Super Bowl or been to a Super Bowl since the earth cooled, but they still lead the league by a wide margin in jersey sales for sure. Same thing. You could make a case. I know this is going to be offensive to Cowboy fans like me, but the Steelers may actually be America's team in this sense. You can go to any NFL stadium in the league, and if the Steelers are playing, that group travels and they have fans everywhere. So the point being, it really does have more to do with national profile than anything else. So I don't find the Laker thing surprising at all.
And another note I found interesting from this list, as far as the back of name jerseys that are sold across the country, 14 states, their top selling jerseys are of retired players. Michael Jordan, Yao Ming, Steve Nash, Scottie Pippen, Mike Bigby, and Vince Carter, and Allen Iverson. Is that and Grant Hill? Or is that strange to you?
A little bit strange, and actually would be a little bit of a source of concern for the NBA, I think. I mean, I think Adam Silver is a really good commissioner, but that may be a very telling statistic right there, that they kind of need to bring the focus back to the here and now. And I know it's been difficult because of coronavirus, et cetera, but I find it a little bit surprising and a little bit alarming.
Well, and LeBron James pretty much dominates. As we said, 30 states had the Lakers jerseys as their number one selling. Only a few of those were for Kobe, and the rest for LeBron James. So yeah, and I agree. If I'm the NBA, obviously you're a world brand and you want your jerseys to sell, and money is money. But when we have these discussions so often about player destinations and where they want to play, when you're seeing stuff like this, that in Texas, where you have 3 NBA teams, the top selling jersey is not from either of those 3 NBA teams. It is from an LA team. And when you see the same thing happen in Florida, where there are, again, multiple NBA teams, and you're seeing that they are also buying jerseys of players from teams in other states. I think it's certainly something incredible to see and something for the NBA to think about in the future and what they might need to do to get people excited about their own teams and their own hometowns and their own players and their own franchises. Coming up next, we will talk some more Dallas Cowboys. We'll get into the USFL jerseys. I'll have Dave and Coach A research those over the break so we can all get a glimpse of what they look like. The Houston Gamblers, I think theirs are pretty slick. I think the black and red is really going to work out for them. We'll gauge their excitement on that league, talk some Dallas Cowboys, and we'll close it out for a Friday on the Chris Duel Show. You're listening on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with
You're up.
Sweeney.
Final segment on a Friday, the Chris Duel Show. Myself, Shannon, Salty Sweeney, Coach A. Paul Alexander, and Dave Ayler holding it down in San Antonio. Our Twitter question today, now that football season is over, what will you be watching this weekend? NBA All-Star Weekend, the Olympics, college basketball, college baseball. NBA All-Star Weekend currently leading the way with a tie with college basketball, college baseball. Some great games in college basketball, the start of the college baseball season, and the Olympics ending this weekend. But Coach A, just because there's no football being played, that does not mean that there's not football to be discussed. Yesterday, it was a huge story with the Dallas Cowboys and the findings that ESPN released of incidents that took place 2014 and 2015 with a former chief executor by the name of Richard. Now say it for me now.
Dalrymple.
Richard Dalrymple. And some issues with walking in to the cheerleaders' locker room, and apparently recording video of him changing to an incident during draft night when he was trying to take video and photos up the skirt of Jerry Jones's very own daughter. They settled with the cheerleaders. They tried to keep everything quiet, but with this investigation, clearly things have come out of that. Dalrymple recently retired from the Cowboys after working for them for 32 years. After working that long, you'd think he'd get some sort of final farewell from the organization, but publicly there was nothing revealed, nothing released. And now we're here, and there's yet to really be anything from Cowboys camp. Are we waiting for something from them, Coach A, or do you think they're sitting back and going to let it blow over? Because I feel like something needs to be said, and it needs to be heartfelt, and it needs to be truth. We need to know that they really do feel a certain way about what took place, and what changes have they made since then, right? There's been plenty of time to implement changes. So hopefully there's no more stories like this to come from more recent years since this occurred.
Well, if they're waiting for this to quote unquote blow over, they're going to be waiting an awful long time. Don't hold your breath. So, yeah, they are in bunker mode right now. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. The league is trying to figure out what it's going to do. This is very typical with stories and exposés like this. You get a big splash on a day, and then it gets silent for a week before the storm begins. This is going to be a very, very big deal. It's coming at a very poor time for the National Football League. It's yet another headache for the Jolly Roger. And it's going to be interesting to see how these two stories with the Cowboys and then what has been going on with the Washington Now Commanders for the last 2 decades, those Venn diagrams do intersect. And one is going to complicate the other and vice versa. A couple of things here. There are parts of Dalrymple's story that just don't wash. I mean, first of all, you used your security card key to get into the cheerleaders' dressing room in the first place. Mm-hmm. From an HR standpoint, from an employment standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, I don't need to know another thing. Get your stuff and get out of here. But that was subordinate to keeping the whole thing quiet. And then he says, yeah, well, I was in there, but I didn't know that they were changing clothes. Excuse me. Number one, there's a reason, as you pointed out yesterday, Shannon, why it's called the dressing room. But beyond that, this was a team event, and there were different functions at this team event. And it required the cheerleaders to change clothes to go from one part of that event to the next part of that event. Now, he says he did not use a cell phone. I don't know. That so far, we don't have any hard evidence, but we don't know if he was using a personal cell phone or somebody else's cell phone or his official Cowboys cell phone, or if people are just lying because they could be doing that. But it's just so instructive. Think about this. All the various considerations here, and the only thing that mattered to the Cowboy organization was that it never get out. Okay, if they have not gotten wind of ESPN's investigation story, Rich Dalrymple would still be employed today and would be going into his 33rd year of employment with the Dallas Cowboys. We don't know all the facts, but we do know some facts, and the facts we know stink.
Well, and what does it say about the Cowboys? Because we're in an age where it's so hard to keep things a secret. It's so hard to keep things under the wraps, even if it does take years for those things to come to light. Things always seem to, trying to hide something, it always seems to come to light at some point. What does it say about the Cowboys for trying to cover this up, and what does it say about them now in the way that they haven't said anything yet? I mean, we're now on day 2 since this has been out, and we've heard absolutely nothing from this organization.
Yeah, I'm not surprised we haven't heard anything yet because again, they're getting their story straight. And their official statement from their official Cowboy attorney was there was no wrongdoing here. Well, again, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but you can't say that there was no wrongdoing here if only because that guy was in the cheerleaders' dressing room without their knowledge, without their permission, and used his security card key to get in there. So you can't say that there was no wrongdoing. Now, we're trying to figure out the extent of the wrongdoing here. With respect to covering it up and trying to keep it silent, I think the Cowboys have that in common with most large organizations, whether it's in sports or in any other business. And it always comes back to bite you in the tuchus. And I think that people are now realizing that we now live in a world where even if you wanted to, you're not going to be able to indefinitely. But think about it this way. They were able to cover it up for almost 6 years.
That's true. That's true. But reporters, that's what they do. They dig. And when they find something to hold on to, they just keep digging in that same spot. Now, Coach, football-wise with the Dallas Cowboys, we are approaching the Combine, which is always a huge media event and a place where everyone can really get eyes on who might be the top draft picks. Immediately, what comes to mind is a need for the Dallas Cowboys where they can get somebody in the draft. You expect them to go for somebody that can make an immediate impact, or maybe somebody who sits on the line and grows and gets better to be a replacement in the future.
Yeah, it's a little dicey this time if you're drafting for need because you don't know what you're going to lose in free agency. You could always use another patch on that offensive line, which is not what it was a few years ago, for sure. You don't know what the receiver situation is going to be, particularly with Michael Gallup. You could never have enough cover corners. Now, the Cowboys did great last year in that in drafting Micah Parsons, they not only got the best player available at that point, they not only got the best linebacker, they got the best defensive player available that was out there. And you could have made a case for him this year, not just as defensive rookie of the year, but defensive player of the year. He was absolutely that great. But Shannon, if you'll indulge me for just a moment, that organization has a bigger problem right now. And I think that this is a huge storm cloud that's hovering over the 2022 season. The dynamic that they have on that coaching staff right now is untenable. It's not going to work. And you would think that Jerry Jones would be smarter than that. But you got a situation, and by the way, I'm not impugning the character of either gentleman, but you got this situation with Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy that just is not going to work. And it's going to be a drag on that organization, and people are going to be aware of it every day. McCarthy's going to see Quinn looking over his shoulder like the Grim Reaper. And here's the thing. It's not his imagination. It's the truth. The truth of the matter is McCarthy is a lame duck. And the instant that Jerry Jones can get rid of him, he will do that. Now, what I don't understand, if you feel that way and you have every right to, and I may even agree with you, then why didn't you just go ahead and do it instead of creating this just completely uncontrollable, unworkable situation going in? And even if both guys really behave professionally, and they will, and even if they're gentlemen, and they will, just the friction there and the dynamics there and players not knowing who the real boss is and choosing sides, you can lose. You know what? That's just not bad for your locker room. You lose football games that way.
Yeah. And to me, I almost fear that out of Mike McCarthy, we'll get an overcorrection, right? A lot of people not pleased with some of his play calling and clock management. Maybe he takes note of that and says, okay, I need to fix those. Quinn's right behind me looking over my shoulder, ready to take my job at any moment. But then he overcorrects, he overthinks, and every play is going to be scrutinized. And well, what if Dan Quinn got to call it? What would that look like? And then you also wonder, what's it going to take? What is going to be the final straw to break the camel's back for them to say, you know what, I think this needs to be Dan Quinn's team, and Mike McCarthy, you're out. And then when and if that time comes, we'll be having the conversation. Well, why didn't it happen sooner? Like you just mentioned, if we're already in this position, why are we letting it linger? Why? And you got to feel for Dan Quinn. Now, obviously, he did make the decision to come back to the Dallas Cowboys. He had the opportunity to go elsewhere. But certainly you think he's wanting that job sooner rather than later. And just how soon is it going to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, McCarthy's not being paranoid here. Okay, Quinn is not a threat to take your job. Quinn is going to take your job, period. Now we're just talking about when. Now, who wants to work in a situation like that? I mean, that's just not going to work.
I'm trying to like think of a television show or like movie scenarios in which has that occurred. I feel like there's an Office reference that I'm missing out there. Coach A, football season won't be over for long because we do have the USFL coming. I don't know how excited you are for this league, other than it will be live action football, and it's going to take place here in the United States. In 4 days, they are holding their draft. I'll run through the teams with you for those that need a reminder. The New Jersey Generals, the Michigan Panthers, the Philadelphia Stars, the Pittsburgh Maulers, the Birmingham Stallions. That's actually where they're hosting the draft in Birmingham. The Houston Gamblers, the New Orleans Breakers, and the Tampa Bay Bandits. So the USFL is trying to get people into it. They had released jerseys yesterday and their alternates and what they look like. I love the Houston Gamblers look. The black is, I think it's really sleek. It's not something we see a lot in the NFL. You know, I know that the Raiders are black, but with those silver pants, it makes it a little more bright for me than I like the little pop of color with the red in there. I don't know. I like the jerseys. I'll root for the Houston Gamblers, sure, but I don't know that I'm investing in this. I don't know that I'm buying those jerseys. I don't know that I'm turning the TV on all the time because I don't want to get invested in something that could be pulled out from underneath us before we know it. It's really been here for more than a minute. But your thoughts on this league and if you think any of these jerseys are worth getting?
I go back to the original USFL. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that I can dive into a closet or a drawer and I've still got a Tampa Bay Bandits t-shirt somewhere. The USFL was pretty good football. I mean, it really was. And, you know, had a certain entrepreneur who later became president of the United States not tried to turn them into a fall league, they might still be around. I mean, it was a good product. And you mentioned USFL uniforms. And I have to giggle here. I had the honor, and it was a true honor, one of the great honors of my life. I coached football at St. Anthony High School for 11 seasons and taught there for 14 years. And it was really an answered prayer and a blessing. But here was the deal. The Gunslingers used to train and practice at St. Anthony. So when they went out of business, they gave St. Anthony all of their game pants, okay, which we then turned into practice pants. Now, understand, our colors at St. Anthony, it's a little weird. We're the Yellow Jackets, but our colors were garnet and gray. Yeah, okay. But anyway, our practice pants were silver with green stripes as the legacy that the Gunslingers gave us. So I'm kind of into this whole USFL uniform thing. The old Michigan Panthers used to have great uniforms, but I'm with you. Going in this time, I'm with the Gamblers.
All right. There it is. Coach A, Team Gamblers for the USFL this season. Again, their draft in Birmingham, Alabama, just 4 days away. That season will get underway this spring. Dave Ayler, I know you're going to be packing probably this weekend, and you said meeting with the realtor. Coach A, what's on your weekend plans aside from taking in all the sports you can that aren't football? Any big plans for you this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to be the nomadic griller. I'm going to a friend's house. My wife and I are going to some friend's house tomorrow in New Braunfels, and I'll be happy to grill for them because I've got to grill for somebody. So that's fun. I do plan to watch a lot of basketball. I'm kind of into this particular golf tournament. I think the weather's supposed to be at least halfway decent, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh, good deal. I hope it is. I'm not. I'm supposed to be going out to downtown Round Rock tonight. I'm looking forward to it. But if it's anything like last night and the way I suffered sitting on that cold bench watching a softball game, I'm not going to have a good time. I'm gonna complain the entire time, and everyone's gonna be hating me by the end of the night. So get me home early, get me home, and keep me warm. All right, there it is. Today's Friday show on the Chris Duel Show, Football Friday, even though we are now in the dark ages, as Chris likes to say. Coach A, you'll be back on Monday. Remind us again who's joining you.
I am so looking forward to this. My buddy, longtime friend, Anthony Pittman, a lot of you are familiar with Pitt. He was a wonderful television journalist here in San Antonio and has worked other places as well. He's a great guy. Full disclosure, he is my partner in my business at radicallyrational.com. He is an absolute sports freak with a wonderful perspective on everything, and we're going to have some fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll make sure to tune in because I'm sure my body will still wake me up much earlier than I'd rather it be. Dave, do you know, are you getting to work with Paul on Monday?
Yes, I'll be here on Monday.
All right. Well, have a great show.
He's a brave man.
It should be, hopefully it'll keep it on the rails.
Yeah,
That's all I'm showing up to do is try to keep it on the rails.
Just on the air. That's at the end of the day, on the air. On the air, we're good. Just put on the air, microphones on, you'll be okay. I believe in all of you. Thank you so much for joining me, both of you, today. And for all those that listen, if you miss any second of the show, make sure you head over to the podcast page. We've got it all broken down in 3 separate hours. So it's easy to find what you missed and to relive anything that you want to hear over and over again. We sound better on the second or third run anyway. It's totally fine. You get used to our voices that way. Chris, again, will be back mid next week. I'll be back on Tuesday. Coach A will be sitting in with you on Monday. Thanks again for listening. It's been the Chris Duel Show. Ticket 760 AM 1300 The Zone. Have a great weekend.